Brad, any cavalry coming back this weekend?
Yeah, we've got some options, which is good. Will Setterfield got through his comeback game in the VFL, played well, and some good form in the VFL as well. Probably the main one I think is probably Jake Stringer, who's he's really keen to play and really keen to prove his fitness at training. So we're potentially excited about that. But again, we'll be just putting him through his paces to make sure that he's right to go and functioning at the high level we know he can. So that's probably the main one outside of the guys coming back from injury.
What specifically do you need to see from Jake today?
Just him at his best. He's we all know he's a sort of strength power athlete, so he's got to be able to produce that sort of strength and power and speed and change of direction. And if he can do that, then he'll come into our side.
How's he going with it all? Because it is sort of a common thing with him that he can't just get that string of games together when he wants to.
Yeah, it's always frustrating, I think, for any player that when they can't get out of their best. I think the risk for us is that, again, I've said the same with Dylan Shiel and Sam Draper, that a lot of these injuries you can there's a bit of, I suppose, courage and bravery to get out there and play. But if they're unable to produce their best, I just don't think that it does them or the team any service to do that. So, yeah, it's frustrating for him. He wants to get out there and play for us, but we just want him at his best. And there's no point. The team might look better on paper with him in it, and it certainly is better with him in it at his best. But if he's not physically right to go, then we shouldn't play him.
You mentioned Dylan and Sam. How are they tracking? Are we going to see them before the season's out?
I wish I knew the answer to that. Draper's progressing really well, so he'll do some work today. He won't play this week, almost irrespective of what he's able to produce today. That's because there's a graduated loading program for him, and he won't meet all those measures this week. But I'd say he's in the ballpark for next week. But that'll depend on how the next 10 days goes.
How's Dylan? He's still tracking well.
Yeah, he's if you watch him out there today, you'll think he's moving, really, really well, and he's an unbelievable athlete. And he's moving fantastically in a straight line. It's the change of direction that we've got to get right for him. So that's not quite there yet, but we're hopeful. But unfortunately, that's all we are, is hopeful, until he can get that hard change of direction going, which is a real hallmark of his game. He won't be right to play, so it's still a bit of a question mark, unfortunately.
You've got North Melbourne this weekend. You said post-game that you're pretty confident that complacency hadn't crept in with the players heading into the West Coast game, but if it had, it was a bit of a reality check. Have you done anything different this week to ensure that any doubt over that has been nullified? Yeah,
we just showed the first half of North against Melbourne down at Blundstone Arena. I mean, North were terrific. So there's absolutely no doubt that we're going to have to be at our best to get the job done. So, and everyone's clear on that. And I think we've revisited on the things that we do well, and we really want to focus on that. And but no, I think it's not only North's performance against Melbourne, it's Hawthorn's performance against Collingwood. It was Fremantle's performance against Brisbane. I mean, we probably coaches say it a lot, that it's a really even competition, and it takes a round like that for everyone to sort of think, yeah, it is. So we're fully aware of the challenge ahead of us.
Is that because, the Roos have nothing really to lose, whereas for you the season is still alive? Is that something that plays into that?
We can't control that. I mean, it's we'd rather be in the position we're in with a fighting chance, and we're going to fight with everything we've got to compete for the last 3 games. And I've said all year we want to win every game we play, and nothing's different in these next 3 games, and that's what's in our control. So we'll be fighting really hard this week, and that's the first step of the next 3 games for us. And North Melbourne's psychology and their frame of mind's out of our control.
Ben Cunnington's farewell game, you've had so much to do with Ben throughout the journey. It seems kind of fitting that he's going to end it against you. Just a word on what he's meant to the North Melbourne Football Club.
He'll go down as an all-time great of the North Melbourne Footy Club, and he's been clearly I feel a really strong connection to him. When you draft players as essentially boys and watch them grow into men, and Ben's just a fantastic person, great father. I think he's been an unbelievable player, multiple club champion, just a real credit to the game, and he's clearly been through his well-documented challenges, and he's built resilience, and it's fair to say it's one of the most pleasing parts of being involved in football, watching boys grow into men and the people they become, and it's a strange feeling, going into a game that's going to be his last game and sitting on the other side. But we're professionals, and Ben will be doing his best for North Melbourne, and my job is to make sure that we get the result that we need. And it's a huge game for a number of reasons, and I'll probably be able to elaborate a bit more on Ben post game. But right now, my focus is on making sure we get the result for the Essendon Football Club, and what's a really important game for us.
It was a busy day for retirements yesterday. You've got one in your ranks as well. Andrew, he's only 32. Are you surprised by his decision?
I probably have a bit more context in terms of his decision than most. Andrew Phillips is a story of resilience, and it's not often that a player chooses to retire at arguably the peak of their powers. But you go back through Andrew's history. He's a rookie. He spent 4 or 5 years at one club, then went to another club 4 or 5 years, and then 4 or 5 years here, and pretty much through his whole career he's been almost explicitly told that he's a backup. He'll be used in case of emergency. And we sat down and had a conversation at the end of last year and flipped that script a bit and just talked about it's really important that he sets himself for his career best year. And it's easy to say that, but to watch a player like Andrew deliver a career best year in his last year, is pretty rare. And I just think he's a great lesson for all of our players that he's worked extremely hard throughout his career, and without many rewards. He talked to the players about playing all the years he's played and tallied 80 games, but he's really proud of those 80 games, and we're really proud of him. But I think it's a story that AFL footy is really important, but the most important thing to Andrew Phillips is his family, as it should be, and he feels the time's right for him to go home to Tasmania and spend time more time with his family and set up the rest of his life. And while we're probably disappointed that we're losing a player at the peak of his powers, there's as much as footy's really important, there's more to life than just AFL footy.
It's a question we're probably going to ask every week until we've got an answer. Where's Darcy's contract talks?
Again, I just let the list management team do their work on that. I've been probably given as much information as I could throughout the year, and I'm very honest and open about. I haven't put any pressure on Darcy, and I don't talk to him about it. The only thing that I've said is that free agency exists and it's part of our system, and it's Darcy is exploring his options as all free agents should, and hopefully we're a very, very good option for him. But I think all the information on the table is really important for Darcy to make the decision that's right for him. Our job is to make sure that we set up a really good environment and a really good vision for what is in store for the rest of Darcy's career at Essendon, and I'm really comfortable with where that sits, but I also respect the decision Darcy's got to make.
You made a bit of a pitch to Mason, sat down with a few former greats. Have you done a bit of that with Darcy as well? Yeah,
we've been. I think again our job is to sell what the club where we sit right now. We've worked extremely hard over the last 9 to 12 months to get ourselves back on track and into the position that we're in to set a really solid foundation for the future. So we brought Darcy right into the tent on all of that and all the plans for the future, so that he's got all the information he needs to make his decision.
Just going back to last week, there's been some speculation that the Eagles gave the game away because they wanted to get the draft pick. What do you say to that, given it sort of diminishes the effort that your boys gave throughout the game?
Oh no, it didn't feel like the West Coast were challenging us right up until the end, and I thought they were. I think it's probably the best they've played all year. And it just didn't feel like that to me. I mean, they were challenging us right up until the last second of the game. So I don't believe that to be the case at all. We certainly don't feel disrespected by that by any stretch of the imagination. But no, I don't buy into that.
Would you have put one back if you were up at that point?
Well, I think we made it difficult for them to do that. I think that those scenarios you train all the time, and I spoke a little bit about. I was excited, like you can train all those things all you want, but until you've got to execute in the heat of the moment, that's when you learn the most. And there are different scenarios that you can do, and putting one back may not have helped them.